Hello, everybody, and welcome to my show. My name is Michael, and I'm glad to welcome you here. If this is the first time you're coming, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. If you have been here before, I'm glad to have you back. So let's roll. As we are talking, just as we are talking, the Americans are going to the polls. Isn't that interesting? The significant thing about this election is that it will determine how far America will go as a superpower or whether the end is nearer. This is my observation as an outsider who has followed the politics since the rise to stardom and to the rise to the presidency of Barack Obama. When Trump came out in 2016, it was like a mirage. Everyone believed that he was a passing wind. He wasn't even sure himself he was going to win. That was why when he won, it was surreal to him, as he told Joe Rogan in his latest interview with Joe Rogan. But after the events that followed his election, especially the declaration of the time to start the move to impeach him, to take him out of government, everything changed. American politics turned from the standard for the world to a war among the right and the left. I mean, full-time war with the aggressors being people from the left. And the same way it was being fought there, the hatred, the venom, the division was pushed to all over the world. Those who loved the left in the US were really antagonistic of Trump and the Republicans. And those who love the right, usually the right are not the troublemakers. I'm not exonerating them. The far rights are, not the central right. It was like the skies were made open and the anger. If you saw people on that November 6th night of 2016, people yelling, screaming to the top of their voice because they didn't witness Hillary literally breaking the glass ceiling. Fast forward to 2020. Trump was cruising to re-election. Economy was booming. It was going well. But something happened that laid under the radar. A conference was held in Wuhan, China. Event 201. It was a simulation of a pandemic-like virus that will take over the world. And the media will be used to put fear in the mind of the people. And then a level of control will be rendered. And when the people revolted, a level of control will be removed, but not all. It was just a simulation. Who cared? Coincidentally, in January 2020, there was a news of one killing virus, coronavirus, that literally derailed the cruise ship of Trump to the next re-election. What happened was a half-alive human being, Joe Biden, came in and defeated a vibrant, economy booming Donald Trump. It was like a joke to him. He joked, if this guy wins me, then I'm done. It's not possible. And everyone who followed their politics believed it was not possible. But the hatred against Trump was much more than the love. Most people who voted for Biden, whether it was real or not, most people who voted him were not really voting for him, but against Trump. This is not my analysis. This was the general analysis. However, it was not only that. When the election was over, there was a post from the Times magazine where they were describing the shadow campaign against Trump. We said it at the time, but some of my friends thought say it was conspiracy theory. But the Times detailed the shadow campaign against Trump in details. I mean, in full graphic. How the how the big media, the mainstream media, the big tech, the mainstream media, and the shadow government, more or less, came together to orchestrate the highest level of a voting, what do I call it, rallying, including the 400 million by Zuckerberg to areas purely targeted. Of course, you cannot doubt his ability to target. He owns Facebook, and one of the things they do good is targeting people, targeting audiences exactly to where they want them. So they targeted areas that predominantly vote Democrat and pumped them with their share of those money. But the worst of it was not the targeting or even the virus. There was a super powerful October surprise that year, the Hunter Biden laptop. No one could ever share it. The media unanimously cancelled it. Facebook banned the sharing of it. Twitter banned the sharing of it. And the intelligence, 51 or 50 intelligence, ex and current, I think ex-intelligence officers came and put their name on writing that it was a kind of a copy of Russia disinformation. That the laptop was a pure show of Russia disinformation. But they knew it was true because Radcliffe, who was the I think it's National Intelligence Director, came out and said it was not the Russians. I think it was CIA Director, right? More or less. It was not the Rush. It was not Russia disinformation. But the media had already made up their mind. They have a path they have chosen. Of course, Trump named them the enemy of their people. Fake news. They took it and they said it was debunked. However, in 2024, just a few months ago, that same laptop was used as basis for convicting Hunter Biden for crime of tax evasion. The media knew this in real time because even the ABI could not deny that it was really Hunter Biden's laptop. Why does it matter? Why did it matter? It mattered because the information of pay to play in that laptop would have sunk Joe Biden's election. That apart, Joe Biden could hardly be coherent. He made a lot of gaps. One of them telling Charlemagne the God that if any black person will not be able to understand if he wants to vote for him or for Trump, that the person ain't black. He didn't do anything because the media were there to water down any shenanigan. That went on and Trump lost. Trump didn't believe he lost. And there were reasons for that. But that is not the subject matter of this particular talk now. The subject matter is the greatest comeback in the history of politics in any country of the world. When the January 6th riots that went out of hand, which the Democrats termed insurrection, when it happened, everyone said this is the death of the political career of Donald Trump. He can never come out of this. And even the closest ally of Trump, everyone, because when you watch that incident in TV from any part of the world, how people were in commando style jumping through the buildings, which was in a direct contrast to people who were actually ushered in by the police. Of course, that was irrelevant. And Trump, being Trump, he had a rally that day in DC where he concluded peacefully and patriotically, make your voice heard. But till today, no media, no mainstream media puts that last sentence, peacefully and patriotically, make your voice heard. The only thing they said, he was saying, fight. If you don't fight, fight like hell. If you don't fight, we have no country. They impeached him after the fact, after his presidency. Just more than 1 week. It's within his presidency anyway, but it's just the quickest impeachment in the history of the country, just to make sure that they convict him for insurrection and render him impotent as regards coming back for any election in the future. But the impeachment could not result to conviction, which was an ingredient necessary to cancel anyone who wants to be part of the election process, who want to be voted for. Fast forward to 2024, when Trump declared in late 23 that he wants to be president again, he wants to run for the presidency. The war began. Indictment everywhere, court cases everywhere, accusations everywhere. Even a law was amended just to make sure that Trump was booked. Eugene Karen, a law was amended to get her bring in a case of what to call rape that happened in the, I think, around 80s. Is it 90s, 70s? She made a claim that Trump, you just go and read it. That is not the subject matter of this discussion. So all of those, almost 92 indictments, including those of the insurrection, or so to speak, January 6th related. But nobody asks, why did the January 6th panel, the January 6th committee, destroy their evidence? Why did they destroy the raw evidence? It doesn't really matter. What matters is that this man must be stopped. It doesn't matter how. Even when a tape from Nancy Pelosi, recorded by her daughter, who was doing documentary, she showed that she was lamenting that it was her fault. She was responsible for not beefing up security that day, which was echoing what Trump said, that he offered her. As a matter of fact, she was in charge of the security of the Capitol. He offered her 10,000 National Guard troops to help secure the Capitol on that day of rally. They turned it down, both her and the mayor of DC. But on tape, it was shown later on that this was the truth. Nancy Pelosi said she was to be held responsible. It didn't really matter. The lawfare everywhere. Fannie Williams in Atlanta, in Georgia, in New York, Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, everywhere. And finally, the criminally caught him. Alvin Bragg criminally caught him. There was one thing that was significant. Each time there was an indictment, his pose skyrocketed. If you ask me as my own personal opinion to say, I would say that those indictments resulted in Trump winning the primaries, because considering what he has been through, considering the January 6th stigma, considering that mark on him, nobody was interested. Everyone was looking at Dos Santos, who was really doing well. Who was doing well in Florida. But when the first indictment came, Trump shot up again like a rocket ship. Another indictment followed. He shot up the more. The more indictment, the further he went up. Even though he didn't participate in the debates for the primaries, he won handily. Nikki Haley, who struggled to, who thought that winning her state will be a blowout or will be the game changer, she could only muster to win New Hampshire. When she lost her state, everyone knew it was over. Every other thing was to cause damage to Trump. She really did reasonably. There was division in the party. But after that, Trump, earlier than any point in history, captured the primaries. And it was him and Biden. But everyone knew that Biden has been bumbling, even during the 2020 election. In one of the, I think it was in Georgia, at Georgia, he was campaigning. He says something, true under the pressure. Nobody in this planet has been able to discover or to decode what it was that he said. True under the pressure. It was just one of them, where he was describing how he likes small children to touch his hair, and they touch his hair and they watch it went up, and that he likes when children touch his hair, all those stuff. Yet, they kept him. But the bubble busted in June when Joe Biden himself controlled a debate with Trump. And on the debate stand, he bombed, like he imploded. Now, later on, the critics came to say that it was intentional. They say that he usually gets some shot, that's allegedly, to keep him awake. But they intentionally, allegedly, gave him the shot so that he was almost waking up at the time of the debate. I watched that debate. You realize that later on in the debate, he was more coherent. But the beginning of the debate, which, if you want to believe that's conspiracy, you can believe that that was actually when the medicine has not really kicked in. He literally bombed it. And that was the end of his running. You might think that it would have offered the Democrats an opportunity to give people chances to at least come and get themselves voted in to take the place. No. The people, I'm biased of course, the people who called Trump the enemy of democracy, threat to democracy, they selected, democracy is usually election, but they selected Kamala to be the nominee. And before then, Kamala was having around 38% favorability rate. And according to the news, she was the lowest rated vice president in the history of the country. But the media, who played the game, who controlled the narrative, immediately shot her from the lowest rated vice president in the history to the best woman ever to run for any presidency, any office in the history of the country. Forgetting the fact that 2019, when she ran, she couldn't even win one delegate. She dropped out before the first vote was cast. But they repackaged her and shot her into stardom. It became joy. But you can't hide stupid. You can't hide stupid. What happened was, when it was time for her to make a choice for a vice president, the first time ever her ability to make judgment was put to test, she bombed. She chose somebody who watched his city burn during the BLM riot. Tim Walz. He watched Minnesota burn down, and his wife was enjoying the smell, and the city was erased during the George Floyd riot. This was who Kamala chose. But popular opinion was that Joe Shapiro of Pennsylvania, the governor of Pennsylvania, would have been a better choice, considering that he has the possibility of delivering to him the state of Pennsylvania, which in the modern time has become one of the most sought after states for any of the parties to win the presidency, win the electoral college. Now, from the time Kamala was selected, not nominated, selected to be the presidential candidate for the Democrat, till today, she raised more than $1 billion. More than $1 billion with a B. Far greater than Donald Trump. But Trump has work ethics. For example, just yesterday he was in 4 different campaign or rallies. 4 places. And that was how he had conducted this period. For the first 2 months, Kamala never talked to anyone. She only does her prepared words. She goes to prepared program, say prepared words, and continue to repeat one thing over and over again. Yet, the media, why am I so much concerned about the media? Because they control the narrative. We have this saying that if a tree falls in the tree and no one hears it, hears the sound, did it really make a sound? And that is the media. If it is burning, I live in Sweden. If it's burning in Stockholm right now, if it's fire in Stockholm right now, and the media has in their circulation that people are celebrating and they show videos of people celebrating, you will not know about the fire, and they know it. Yet, they always put their thumb on the scale. Why do I raise this topic? I raise this topic because recently Trump made a comment about Liz Cheney being a warmonger and said, put her in front of nine guns, pointed at her with a gun in her hand, and she will break. That they say in Washington and says, let us send 10,000 troops in the mouth of the enemy. And the media, even the media here in Sweden, they cut out that area where Trump said they sent troops while staying in Washington. They cut it to make it look like Trump was saying she should be executed. Even here in Sweden, they couldn't say the truth. And that was exactly the same thing when Trump was the president. How many times he was, several times he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. He couldn't get it. Yet, Barack Obama got it 6 months into his presidency. And what happened after that was chaos in the Middle East. Absolute chaos. So the point is, if you're not in the league, you don't play. If you're not seated on the table, you don't get a share. And Trump is not on the table. I'm a supporter of Trump. The reason is not because I have anything to gain. The reason is because whatever happened in the US trickles down to Europe, even before it completes its cycle in the US. For example, the war going in Ukraine found a way to drag Sweden, that has been neutral since the beginning of modern history, to join a military coalition with NATO. Sweden has always been neutral. They have never taken a side. Even during the World War II, they never took a side. It made it easy for them to be peacekeepers. But without any attack on them, on the Swedish land, without any direct attack, the influence of global government got our country to join NATO. Is it good or bad? I don't put any judgment. That would be a subject matter for another day. So what I'm saying is, the media control the narrative. If they will say just what they're supposed to do, if they would do what they're supposed to, which is report the news fair and balanced and let the people make their own decision, it will be fair. But no, they spin the truth, they spin the fact, and create their own alternative fact in the bubble and explode it on the people. When you counter it, they have fact checkers to prove you wrong with just a sentence or a word. They just, for example, at the same time they were keeping Trump's words, taking Trump out of context, they were editing Kamala's interview to make her look good. So what is going on today in the United States, the election today is going to determine who rules the world, who rules the United States. Trump detailed out his own economic plan, and Kamala detailed out her own. Most of the time, the Trump policy, I cannot say how they see it, but what I see is that he says that energy is the pillar of his price control. Energy. Bring down the cost of energy, and the cost of grocery and cost of every other thing goes down, which makes more sense. Because if the cost of gasoline is high, you cannot rule out that the cost of the transportation and cost of the extracting of the mineral is high. But if the cost of extraction, refining, and transportation are low, and then at the shop, at the pump is high, then you have a cost to clamp down on the market, on the retailers. But that is not the case. The case is that the cost of extraction is high, the cost of purification or refining is high, And the cost of transportation, because of these two levels are high, must be high, because for them to make their money, they have to increase the cost. And what happens to the retailer? The retailer jacks up the cost to be able to make a profit. And all of this goes down to the final consumer. And Trump says, I will crash those high costs so that the final consumer will have a reprieve, will have a breath of air. On the contrary, Kamala says that she has an opportunity economy, which in my own sense looks like economic opportunity. It doesn't make sense, really. And then the second one is tax cut. Trump wants to cut tax to corporations. And of course, the America, they want to tax the big boys. When you tax corporations, you are still taxing the people. Because if you tax somebody who, for instance, you tax McDonald's heavily, what happens? They distribute the cost of the tax on the individual bread. First, they have to sack some workers or reduce their work time, and yet they have to increase the money paid per burger. At the end, the consumers, the small man still pays for it. So they pay no tax. They pay the general tax, but the more you increase their tax, the more you increase the double, you make it double tax for the man on the lower part of the food chain. Trump said he will cut tax to corporations, especially whether it is international or local corporation who build their company in the country. What does it mean? It means that the overhead is reduced. The tax they pay is reduced. They can hire more. And the more they hire, the more people pay into the economy. And the less people automate. Because the higher tax you create for the corporations, the more they are pushed to automate. Because the robots are not taxed, at least not yet. So I'm not saying I just say how it is. You say which one is better. By the way, before I continue, if you are stopping by, if you're coming for the first time, please subscribe. I'll be coming here every day or every other day. I'm just new in this business. Subscribe, like, especially if you want to convince yourself more before you subscribe. Just like to help me to get some algorithm love. So that's on that. So if you tax corporations, you tax the individuals. Now the next thing is their border. The border, I live in Sweden. I think in 2014 or 15, there was a time Sweden opened up the border and brought in almost 300,000 people in less than 6 months. It was a disaster. It was a disaster because the system was not designed that way, to bring in so many people at the same time. Because it has a very powerful negative effect. One of them is cost of living increases, especially cost of rent, because they have to live somewhere. Even if they live in 10 houses, it has reduced 10 houses for the circulation of people who are already living here. But in their own case, within the 4 years Biden and Harris have been in power, about 10 million people, or let me use the official number, 8 million people entered the country illegally. This is the 8 million they had who came in, not the ones they call getaway, those who avoided being caught. And in that 8 million, 300,000 children are being lost. In the time of Trump, there was a time kids were separated from their parents because their parents are being detained for illegal crossing. It was world uproar. It was world chaos. This man is heartless. I think New York Times have it in the back of the page where a little baby was looking at Trump like, why are you doing this to my mother? But this time, 300,000 children are missing. I mean missing. Now, other ones were trafficked, both for labor and sex. But no media said a word about it. That is not my problem at the moment. But I'm concerned that the media is not doing their job. And however they are doing it there is affecting the whole world. An example is the one I just gave about Liz Cheney. Now, that being said, that was the second policy, the border. What came third in their policy line is abortion. Kamala is leading on abortion. They call it reproductive right. I don't even know why abortion should be called reproductive right when it doesn't have anything to do with reproduction, but stoppage of reproduction. So, but the left have a very wonderful way of naming things. Reproductive. Who will be against reproductive right? Who, in his senses, will be against reproductive right? But calling it reproduction termination, you see that everyone will run away because nobody wants to hear that. My problem with abortion is not that it should not happen. They used to say that it is rare. Rare. In the past, that was what they mentioned, rare. When it is really necessary in case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. But in the modern world, who am I to make the rule? The government that allows it, allows it. Even here in Sweden, it's allowed, but not up to 9 months. I think in Sweden, I'm not so sure, 24 months or thereabout. You cannot have abortion in Sweden after 24 months, except if it's in the health of the mother. But some states in US, I think California, has it up to the 9 months. Virginia, the former governor of Virginia, before the current one, in one of his explanation of this right, said that sometimes a baby is born because the Congress was asking the I think Secretary of State, what is the length? If a woman is dialectic, can she still have abortion? He said, yes, our law allows that. Our proposition allows that. And the governor was explaining that in some cases the baby will be born and be kept comfortable, and then you have a discussion with the mother. About what? About what in particular? In Minnesota, the state, the governor of Minnesota is now currently the vice president nominee of Kamala, the running mate of Kamala. In his state, he signed into law a bill that permits allowing a baby born in failed abortion to die. This is not human practice. But anyways, it's not my concern. My concern is, how did we convince the women of our generation that abortion should be desired and not rare? It's not something to be desired. Some people have really gone crazy when they think about the pain of losing their offspring. But we taught our youth, our young girls, to make it look flashy, to make it look admirable, to abort our babies. Each according to his conscience. It's not my problem. It's not what I support. If I make a woman pregnant, I'm there. I'm not going anywhere. That is if I'm not responsible enough to protect myself or let her protect herself. But that apart, where the law allows it, let it happen. But that is where Kamala is winning. They call this reproductive right, but they mention abortion. Because according to them, it is men controlling women's reproductive right. But that is not it. However, that is the thought in this list. But when Trump talks about all these things, they accuse Trump of wanting to ban abortion. But what I heard he said was that he is not against it. There are exceptions. That is, in case of incest, rape, and the life of the mother. And also, at least 6 weeks. I think Trump allowed more than 6 weeks. But Kamala could not get herself to say at which month should it be against the law. The same thing with transgender issues. Cultural issues are on the table. One of the things Trump was saying that women should not play in men should not play in women's sports. But Kamala said she will follow the law. But according to critics, she changed the law in California when she was the Attorney General to allow men who transition to the other sex to be in women jail. So these are the things going on in the United States. Who to vote is in your hand, is in the people's hand. I don't give anyone any instruction. But the point is that the media lies so much. If they will be honest enough to state the principles, the manifestos of both sides, and let the people choose, we will have an honest word, and the media will have credibility. They have lost credibility to the point that CNN, that used to be, according to them, the main voice in the news, or the main voice in TV, have lost every modicum of worthiness, trustworthiness. So, this election, by tomorrow, or maybe Thursday, the results will be out. The next president of the United States will be known. My hunch is Trump will win, but it's just a hunch. Kamala has also done the most she could within the time. Both when she was hiding and when she realized that hiding will not pay, she started coming out. Doesn't matter how many times she bombed, she imploded. Some people are still voting the same way. Some people are voting Trump. At the end of the day, the media is the loser in this election. Not just US media, but the media, the liberal media all over the world. All of them have a stain on their face for covering the truth. When you go to the pages of MOSN and read, you cannot but say what is going on. Even the media watch in this US recorded 85% positive presentation of Kamala Harris and 86% negative presentation of Trump. It's not supposed to be that way. So, I'm going to stop here. Let us watch and wait. Whoever wins rules the world. Until we meet again, stay focused, stay loved, and don't forget to pursue your goals. Bye.